bread and circuses. It is known that the Romans would give out cheap food and entertainment to keep the public in line and shape their opinions and perspectives. This use of diversion and satisfaction of the populace's shallow requirements demonstrated their simple thought patterns and malleability. These same techniques have crossed over into modern times, found in areas like Hollywood and the music industry. Advanced and studied, developed by way of science in think tank institutes like Tavistock and the Frankfurt School. We also have discovered that there is a spiritual element behind the workers of the bread and circus device. The Romans, modern government, Hollywood directors and producers, eugenics scientists and social psychologists, behaviorists, they all share a common fiber, a kindred spirit. They have a detached way of perceiving humanity, a preoccupation with control, ego, and an internal disposition, a hatred for the Most High God and Jesus Christ. Regardless of the arguments and supports of others, regardless of how nice or impressive these people may come off, spiritually, they all come from and meet within the same place. That dark and empty, desperate place where there is no God and only an endless need to manipulate, lie, and destroy for self-realization, self-worth, self. Continuing our look into Hollywood, let's examine the roots of the known behavior-modifying industry, the very beginnings of the Dream Factory, and those wizards who concocted it, Hollywood, and the founders of glamour and illusion. The biggest misconception regarding Hollywood seems to be its purpose being based in entertainment. Though simple analysis on its historical time of inception, its government support, and the spiritual depravity of its founders will present a much different outlook, one that far exceeds innocent entertainment. It is no coincidence that Hollywood began to bud during the early 1900s, directly after the birth of the psychology movement under Gustave Le Bon and Sigmund Freud, amongst others, and right before World War I, and many other social agendas that were in the plans to be indoctrinated into the American people. Simply put, Hollywood began as a production source for propaganda, mass psychology, and social engineering. All the while, underneath the veil, working from a base level with dark spirits and Kabbalah magic by wizards. Now, one new to these ideas might consider them ridiculous or silly, but this is expected. Mind control is powerful, and denial is a hell of a drug. D.W. Griffith was an early director and producer whom was known as the inventor of Hollywood. Though this is more of an exaggeration than an accurate depiction of his career in filmmaking, he was more known for his impact on Hollywood and his film Birth of a Nation, made in 1915. His film not only reached incredible status as one of the first blockbusters of its time, it also changed society and revitalized an old Masonic Jesuit terrorist group creation, the Ku Klux Klan, which in the same tone developed a new mental struggle and paranoia throughout the so-called black population. Producing fame and fortune, controversy and dismay, all at the same time, strategic and calculated. D.W. Griffith knew exactly what he was doing, and from behind the scenes was instructed. Deeply praised and supported by President Woodrow Wilson, the film single-handedly put Hollywood on the map, and indeed birthed a nation, one of dissonance and forgery. a nation of deceit and warfare. Taking a look at our current time, isn't it interesting that race suddenly appears to be the flavor of the year? And isn't this ironic that they have just happened to produce a remake of the film Birth of a Nation? How fitting. Doesn't seem like this nation has changed much. And neither has its manipulative use of filmmaking. It's fascinating how the KKK group has also turned up in news reports lately surrounding the heel actor Donald Trump. They've seemed to pop up on the scene out of nowhere, with perfect timing, right before the release of the new Birth of a Nation film. Strategic marketing meets social engineering and predictive programming. Brilliant. Layered. Witchcraft and lesser magic heavy at work. This reminds me of the punctual release of the Water Found on Mars story that was released a week before the Martian film came out. I think it was with Matt Damon. This is programming, mixing supposed reality with fantasy, blurring the lines between fiction and nonfiction, double-mindedness. And a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. If life is but a dream, it's only because we focus on the stream when we should be getting off the boat. Let us continue. From Warner Brothers, Universal Pictures, MGM, Paramount Pictures, to 20th Century Fox, they all took part in creating what we now know today as Hollywood, and they all were formed by men cut from the same cloth, funded by and connected to the same societies, with similar goals and ambitions, under the same schoolmaster. Founded in 1897, and one of the earliest and most prolific American film production companies, Vitagraph Studios took charge in forging the direction of Hollywood filmmaking. Later to become Warner Brothers Pictures, Vitagraph was like all motion picture companies in the beginning, known for its newsreels. Newsreels were the first film studio claim to fame. Vitagraph and others would film on-scene events from battles, scuffles, and even the Spanish-American War in 1898. Film production was used as the first ever on-screen news stories for the American public. This aspect of film made it an asset to the government and the proliferation of soldiers for war, and controlled public opinion. The studio would often perform reenactments of fighting and scenes and pass them off as real events. Kind of your original hoax stories, a la P.T. Barnum, the pioneers of what we see today in our designer news. They have been doing this stuff since the beginning. Hollywood films were premier propaganda machines, and not much else. It has been reported that enlistments and recruitment have historically increased dramatically during the release of movies with warfare or battle plot lines. For these reasons, motion pictures have always been used to manufacture societies. We can look at the founder of Paramount Pictures, Adolph Zucker, previously known for Famous Players Film Company of 1912. He went on to make many successful accomplishments in the film business, like creating Chelsea Studios, which still runs today, and the propaganda film Queen Elizabeth. He was definitely a big player early in the game, and as any famous figure in Hollywood, he was a Mason and Brotherhood member. As a master of the craft and doer of the great work, he was formally celebrated on the cover of Time magazine, a print source founded by Brighton Haddon of Yale University and well-known Skull and Bonesman. Time, a Skull and Bones controlled publication, also owns People magazine, the nation's largest, most popular print magazine in history, and staple promoter of Hollywood and its star culture. Do you see how all this ties in? Let's take a look back even further. Before Hollywood altogether, who made the motion picture camera? Allegedly, the creator was Thomas Edison. Though this may not be completely true, it was Edison who formed a business out of the use of the motion picture camera. Edison, also a Mason, occultist, and pagan, was widely known as the Wizard of Menlo Park. Wizard Edison received this moniker for his pioneering of the first research laboratory, where he practiced his witchcraft and magic. He proclaimed that his only concern for his lab was to create knowledge and control its application, spoken like a true Gnostic. A true despiser of God and faith in Jesus Christ, Edison was heavily influenced by Thomas Paine and scientific deism. Paine, famous for his Gnostic and Antichrist writings The Age of Reason, was also a fellow Mason and Illuminist that played a major role in the forging of the New World Order early on. Thomas Edison, the wizard godfather of Hollywood and motion pictures, transferred his demons into generations to come. Interestingly, yet by no surprise, in 1920, he began a news sensation by claiming he was working on a spirit phone, one that would allow communication with the dead. Similarly, it seems that it would only make sense that he created the motion picture camera to watch the dead, further giving understanding to why actors allow themselves to take on spirits, and the blatant requirement for Satanism and demonology in the world of Hollywood. Lastly, let us examine the founder of the infamous Universal Pictures, Carl Laemmle. Like all other early producers of Hollywood, and Ashkenazi and Luciferian, Laemmle gained fame through popularizing the horror genre and perfecting the monster movie. He also made renditions of works by Edgar Allan Poe, another Luciferian and occultist. From Murders in the Rue Morgue, The Mummy, and The Black Cat, Laemmle's obsession with the dark arts and the occult was magnified and spread upon the nation, absorbed into the minds, and played a forbidden harp within the hearts of man, woman, and child. He achieved a staunch monster monopoly, driven by satanic and gothic German expressionism. He flourished at describing the supernatural and obscene, and transferred his personal deep-seated disturbances and ideals on the masses abroad, and had them pay for it. As he became rich for the destruction of innocence, righteousness, and faith, and single-handedly introducing an entire nation to the world of the occult, witchcraft, and Satanism. Laemmle was heavily supported by the United States government and European orders and societies alike. He was also great friends with fellow German and fraud Einstein, both used strategically by the global elite to transform America through culture creation, or the culture industry. Government, military, and corporate interests have always been directly tied to Hollywood and the entertainment industries, tied financially, by bloodlines, and overall by social engineering strategies, a system of control and dominance, not enjoyment. And Hollywood plays the leading role in this mass production. And Laemmle's horror genre was an early attempt at attacking the spirit of the audience through entertaining them. These motion pictures were created to smash the moral fabric of society by inducing fear and threatening the values and lifestyles of the population, a guiding light to the dark side. Before Laemmle formed Universal Pictures, he created IMP, or Independent Motion Pictures. Through this company, he created the first known movie star, or movie stars, by putting their names on marquees and posters, which was done for the first time. Here, Laemmle spawned the revolution of stardom in the city of fallen angels. The concept celebrity became a new ingredient within the behavior modification industry called Hollywood. Now, with stars for the public to adore and revere, agendas and perspectives would be much easier to sell, like movie tickets. The minds of people became the business, and their spirit presented the gateway. Stars would sell their souls, while the public would buy their act, and a new nation would be born. Independent motion pictures under Laemmle foreshadowed a new world that was to come, a new realm to be explored. Yet it was in fact a very old one, an ancient one, only being reinvented. Though Laemmle was merely just a man, a fallen man, behind a camera, he was not afraid to show us all who was directly behind the spirit of the camera and at the heart of Hollywood.